Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to put this drawstring by the two sides of your cloth. So this is basically a video showing you guys how to put the drawstring by the two sides of your cloth, but I'm just going to try to explain it, like how you're going to cut the bodice, but I'm just going to run through it. So basically, if you're using a stretchy fabric, this illustration is just going to be like you're using a stretchy fabric and you're trying to make a bodycon dress, right? So what I'm going to do is just fold this fabric into two. You're going to cut the front and the back bodice the same time. So let's say this is it here. You're going to then fold it into two, right? If you already have your bodice cut, then you can skip to the part where I start to show how to put in the drawstring. But if you haven't cut your bodice, then you have to follow from here. So you're going to fold your fabric into two this way. So now you're cutting both the front and the back bodice at the same time. So you see, I folded it into two first, and then I folded it again. So now I have 4 layers of fabric. So now I'm going to just, guys, now that we folded it again, what you're going to do is to just start putting in your measurement. It depends on what you're trying to make. If you're trying to make a sleeveless, you're just going to go ahead, go to the shoulder part here, divide your shoulder measurement into 2, right? Just like how we draw our normal bodies. My shoulder measurement is 16, divided by 2 is going to be 8. Since it's going to be a sleeveless, you have to subtract 1 from it. So you're going to subtract 1 inch from that. So let's say you will have about 7. That's, you divide your shoulder into 2 and then subtract 1. If you feel like 1 is too small, you might go ahead and subtract 1.5 if you want it like really like sleeveless and inside of your shoulder. So the next thing you're going to do is to put in your armhole. My armhole is 20, divided by 2 is going to be 10. You go ahead and put that here and then connect it this way, and then you're going to go ahead and put your bust measurement. So let's say you're working with a stretchy fabric, you're just going to put in your bust measurement divided by 4, and then let's say your bust measurement is 40, divided by 4 is going to be 10. But instead of putting in 10, you're going to subtract half an inch from it because you want it fitted, right? And you know a stretchy fabric stretches out. So if you use that exact 10, then the fabric is just going to be on your body. But if you want it like fitted so that you can use up the stretch that the fabric comes with, just subtract like half an inch from it. And then, so let's say I got 10, right? I'm going to subtract half an inch from it. So I'm going to be working with 9.5. But then I'm still going to add my 1 inch of seam allowance to it. So that's what I'm going to do here. Then you're going to go back in, put your shoulder to your waist. So for me, my shoulder to waist is about 17, somewhere here. Then you go back in, put your shoulder to your hip. For me, that's about 24, somewhere here, right? So the next thing you're going to do is come down to your waist, divide your waist measurement by 4, sorry. So my waist measurement is 36, divided by 4, that's going to be 9. So I'm going to just subtract half an inch from it. So I'm going to have 8.5, and then I'm going to add my 1 inch of seam allowance. So that's basically it. The same thing for your hip measurement divided by 4. Let's say my hip is also 40, divided by 4 is 10, but I'm going to use 9.5. and then plus extra 1 inch of my seam allowance here. So you see, this is going to be my bodice here. You see my seam allowance has come in. So this is basically my bodice. Remember, this is not going to have any dart. This is not going to have any dart. So I didn't give any room for dart in here. And then just like that, you finish cutting it. All you have to determine now is the length of the dress. So let's say you want the length of the dress without the ruche down to your knee, and your knee is somewhere at 40. Then you're going to leave this, you're going to transfer this measurement from your hip down to that point, which for me is about 10.5, somewhere around here. Just extend this measurement from this point down here. The same measurement you have on your hip is what you have here, because if you use that method that we normally subtract about 1 inch at this hip, at this like when you are using like a fabric that is not stretchy, and you subtract 1 inch here, then when you pull it up, it might not go. So whenever you're making a ruched dress, the lower part is always like loose. It's always like the same as the hip part, so that it can move freely up and down, like from the narrower part of your leg can go up, even up to your hip. So whenever you're making a ruched dress, remember that your hip measurement will always be the same as the lowest part of the dress, so that when you drag it up, it can go all the way up. Because if you narrow this part, then it can't come up to your hip. So that's basically it. At this point, you can just go ahead, cut everything out. You see, you're cutting the front and the back bodies. Remember to add your 1/2 inch here, and then putting your normal neckline about 3 inches by 3 inches, right? Put in 3 inches by 3 inches. Connect your shoulder slope. Come down by 1 inch on this part. Connect your shoulder slope and cut everything out. So that's basically it. What we need the most in this tutorial is this 1 inch that I added here for our seam allowance. This is where our loop is going to fit in. So at this point now, go ahead and cut everything you have out. And remember that your back neckline is 1 inch, right? Whenever we are making our bodice, the back neckline is normally 1 inch, and then the front neckline is lower. But if you're using a zip for your dress and the fabric is not stretchy, you know it's going to be a totally different pattern for that. It's going to have like your zip allowance here and so on, but this tutorial is not for that. So I'm just going to go straight and start showing you guys this particular thing on my illustration fabric, but because this is just to show you guys how to cut it. So guys, this is my bodice right now. So this is the smaller version I'm trying to show you guys. So what, like I said before, what we need the most is this part here. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to put in this how to do that, how to put in your drawstring. So I'm going to show you guys 2 methods in this video. One method is going to come on each side. So I'm going to use one method on this side, and then the second method I want to show you guys on the other side of the fabric. So first thing is that you're going to go ahead and join the shoulder of your cloth, and then once you finish joining the shoulder, we are going to go ahead and sew close one side. So I'm going to go ahead and sew close, but remember to try to use your bias first. So let me say it again. First thing, join the shoulder. Next thing, use bias to finish up your armhole. So guys, you see this one, this side here, I've gone ahead and put in my bias. You just finish up, basically what I'm saying is finish up the armhole, and then you're going to go ahead. Once you finish up the armhole, you're going to go ahead and make a stitch all the way down. I finished this armhole first. As you can see, if you look closely, you see that I did it first, and then I just closed it up. But when you get to this bottom part, you have to also go ahead and fold the end of your clothes. Like the end, you're going to fold it so that you can be able to close it all the way down, if that makes sense. So what I'm saying is the ends of your clothes, you're supposed to go ahead and fold, like you know how you normally have 1 inch at the end to fold the clothes with. Fold the end of the clothes separately, the back and the front separately, and then this your stitch that is coming down now can now go ahead and meet at this end. So guys, at this point now, you're going to open it up this way. So you're going to, this is going to serve as our casing. So you're going to open this up this way. You see, there are 2 loops here. The one which I was talking about for our seam allowance. Our seam allowance is now going to serve as the loop for our string. So you're going to, you see, normally you have this seam allowance inside of your clothes. So you're going to just open the 2 of them and this way. And then you're going to sew it down on this side. Sew it down on this side. So there's going to be an opening in between. So if that makes sense, so go ahead, open it up this way. But before doing that, try to make your stitch strong. Maybe go over this stitch again 2 times so that it doesn't lose, because now you're trying to open it up this way. And if you open it up this way and it's just one stitch that is holding it, it might tear at some point. So maybe go ahead and run your stitch again twice, and then open this up this way. Open up your seam allowance and then sew it at the end. This is going to give us our casing for our elastic. So guys, as you can see, I've made my casing, and when you're folding it, remember to fold in the rough end, right? Just tuck in that rough end. Don't just spread it out and sew it this way. So you're going to tuck in that rough end at the side, like inside of it, before sewing it down. So as you can see, you can't find my rough end. It will give you a clean finish. So at this point now, you're going to take this opening here and then make your loop. Just cut out 1 inch width here. Just 1 inch width, fold one this way, fold the other one this way, and then bend it this way and make your stitch all the way and make your strap. And then you're going to go in from one end here, come up to this top part here, and then go inside the other part and then come down. If that makes sense. So you're going in from one, come up here, out, and then go into the other one and then come up. So that means your strap, the string needs to be long. If you don't want yours to go all the way to the armhole, Another thing you can do is just mark out the point where you want your string to stop. Maybe you want it to stop right at the waist, and then you just mark your waist with a chalk, pass your string all the way to this part here, and then once you can feel the string there, go ahead, go to your machine and make a double stitch there to hold it down. So you know that this part, that your drawstring can only come up to this part, is not going to reach all the way to the top. And then you pass another string, so now you're going to work with 2 strings. Pass one coming up to this point. Once you feel it here, just pass it up maybe by 1 inch, so that you can know that it's past the point where you want it to be. Go ahead and double stitch it to hold it down. But remember, we're talking about inside of the casing, and then you do the same thing for the other opening. Double stitch it. That's if you don't want your string to go all the way to the top. So, but this video here, I'm just going to pass my string all the way to the top and then make the 2 of them come down at the end. So now we're going to move over to the next method. So the next method is the same thing. Go ahead, use your bias, finish up your armhole, and then we are going to come back and finish this. Okay. So guys, just once you pull it up, you see what it looks like here, and you see this part here is smooth. This is just you're supposed to use the same color of thread as your fabric, but the purpose of this video, I'm just using white so you guys can see what it looks like. And you see this one here looks smooth. It just looks exactly like how your fabric is. But this second method here, we are going to just go ahead, first finish up the end of your cloth, and then you're going to go ahead and sew it in, sew in your seam like how you normally sew it in. And also don't forget, the same method applies to just sewing everything in, even at this end too. So guys, as you can see, the other side I've closed it up. Remember, like I said, also finish up the end before you close up everything in one seam. So now that you have this part, try to weave it, and also make sure that the fabric you have on the inside is not too bulky, because if it's too bulky, when you pull it up, this here, I don't know, it will be visible from outside of the cloth. So it's better to reduce it, trim it off a little, and then go ahead and weave the end. So now for this method here, our casing is going to come from the outside. So now you're going to go ahead, cut out like 2 inches of width of fabric, and then what you're going to do is that 2 inches, you're going to go ahead and fold the top part and then fold it this way. So that 2 inches, you're going to fold half of it on each side, fold half of it on the other side, then tuck in of the top part here. But make sure that midway of this, when you fold it into 2, make sure that half of it is at the center, right? Because like where you have your center seam, this seam here, make sure that, like, let's say this is my 2 inches here, make sure that when you spread it out, that you distribute the fabric half and half on each side. That's basically what I'm saying. So then you're going to go ahead and tuck in half an inch on each side, half an inch. You see already I've ironed that down, and then you're going to fold this part here, place it on top of this part, and then sew it down all the way. And then that's why I said to finish up your seam at this end here. When you get to this end also, fold it in this way. You see what I'm saying? So when you get to the end also, so this is where my end is going to be, right? Let me reduce this here. So you're going to tuck it in at the beginning, make a seam all the way down here, and then when you get to the end also, tuck it in and then make your stitch here. So after sewing it down, you're still going to go ahead and make a stitch at the center. So now you're going to have one casing here and then one casing here. But remember, the opening at the top here is, this part here is open, this part here is also open. So guys, for this method here, you see I've gone ahead and sewn everything down. So you can see, if you look closely, you see where my stitch starts here. You see. So, and then at the end here, you see how it also ends. So you just basically sew it and then you give it a center stitch. So if you look closely, you see I have 3 stitches here, one at this end, one in the center, one at the other end. So what you're going to do now, and if you see, the one at the center is right at the center of where my armhole is. So you see, if I fold my fabric, the one at the center is right at the center of my seam. One is on the front, one is at the back. So what you're going to do is just, if you don't want yours to go all the way to the waist, like I said in the other method, you can always go up to the armhole. You can always stop at the waist right? Because this method can also apply to like a bodycon dress that you want to attach a little sleeve to. You don't have to make, just go ahead and attach your sleeve. The only difference is that you don't subtract anything. Just use your normal shoulder measurement for the bodice, cut your sleeve, put it in, and then this here, you can bring it down to your waist. And then how you're going to join it is just like, once your string comes up to this top part where you folded, like let's say this is at your waist now, you just go ahead and sew it down. It's not going to come out from one loop and enter into the other, because this is right outside of your cloth. It won't look neat. So since all you have to do is, since it's going to be on the outside, this one here, you can get away with the loop going from one end to the other because it's hidden on the inside. But this one here, you have to make sure that you bring it like that, your seam, you sew it down. So let's say this loop is going inside of this side now. Once I get to this part on inside of the loop, I just sew it down, right? Just top stitch it. So my loop can only be visible at the end here. You can't see it coming out from this other end. So that's basically how you're going to do it. So I'm just going to pass this loop, one on each side, one on the other side, and then top stitch it at the very top here. So that's basically how you're going to get this for the two sides. So you see these two methods, it depends on you which one you prefer. So you see this one works. And then if I pass my loop on for this one now, it also works too. So guys, look at it here. The both methods work. So I finished this one too. So that's it here. This one also works. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.